Well, good morning, friends. It's your old pal, Jordan the Lion. Your one-handed vlogging friend, Jordan the Lion. That's right. I can't use my hand for about the next week, they said. They never told me that until after the surgery. Then they said you can't drive, you can't exercise, you can't do anything. So I don't think that's going to be possible for me not to drive. But I'm going to put it off for a few days. Let me tell you about the hospital. So, we arrived at the hospital yesterday at 3:30, right on the nose, just like I was supposed to. And they told me that will make you here 2 hours before your surgery. Your surgery's at 5:30. And my friend Carrie, who was in the Poppy Fields vlog with me, was nice enough to insist that she take me and take me home. Because at the time, I didn't know that you had to. I probably would have driven myself, but a day before the surgery, they said, of course, you have to have somebody. And she had already decided she was going to do that. She had already taken the day off, which is awesome because Carrie's like, she's the kind of person you want for that. She will handle everything you don't think of. And so we got there, started going through the admitting process. They gave me my gown, all that stuff. And then they said, okay, we're going to plug your IV in since you haven't eaten all day. And I hadn't. I was dying by that point. It was probably, at that point, it was about 5 o'clock, and I still hadn't eaten, so they put an IV in, which did nothing. I got nothing out of that. I was even hungrier. And we sat, and my scheduling appointment was supposed to be for 5:30, and we watched that go by. We watched 6:30 go by. We watched 7 o'clock go by. And they had me in a bed, since I'm 6'3", that was too short for me. So my feet are hanging off the end. It's starting to get uncomfortable. My back's starting to hurt. And so finally, I'm telling Carrie, you know, I was telling her about the live chat the other day when I was leaving the doctor's office, and that I kind of felt a little bit bad for being so snotty at the beginning of one of them, where I had said that I thought the doctor was a loser because he was really like, I felt like not giving me much attention, and when I was in there, I wasn't getting really any answers or anything, and I had told her that, but I'd also said, I feel like this doctor's just so laissez-faire. He just doesn't seem to, like, I don't know anything. So he shows up. 7:30, he finally walks in and says, okay, you're going to go to surgery here pretty soon. We'll cut the things out of your hand, and then we'll send them off to get analyzed. However, and he starts doing this number, patting around his chest. He goes, I don't have my prescription book, so, and by the way, I had been in one side of the hospital, and then at like, I would say 6:30, they came by and said, okay, we're going to move you. And I go, all right, we're ready? And she goes, no, it's the holiday weekend and we're closing on this side, so we're sending you over to this other side. We're all going home. I was like, okay. Well, I was like, I thought it was weird that you guys scheduled me for a Memorial Day, going into Memorial Day holiday surgery anyway, but whatever. So she takes me over there when the doctor comes. He tells me he forgot his prescription pad. And he goes, you know, if you're, he's doing that move. He goes, if you're feeling pain on Monday, actually I guess it'll be Tuesday, give my office a call and, you know, we'll get you a prescription because, well, I can call it into the pharmacy. And Carrie's sitting there, and Carrie goes, they don't do that anymore, remember? And he goes, oh yeah, that's right, they don't do that. Can't call it in anymore. Well, he said, you know, in 3 days, if you're still feeling pain and you need Vicodin, give me a call. I'll make sure you get it. And Carrie has always been a very outspoken person. In fact, it's a blessing and a curse because it's awesome to know somebody that's so outspoken, but at the same time, sometimes you're like, oh God, I never know when it's going to come. And today it came because she all of a sudden lets out a big sigh and she goes, what? Are you serious? You forgot your prescription pad. In 3 days, I mean, he's going to be in 3 days worth of pain. And he goes, well, you can, do you have like Tylenol or anything? You could take some extra strength Tylenol. And her head whips around. She goes, Tylenol? For a surgery? She was not being rude, but she was letting him know. And he was starting to get uncomfortable. I could see it in his face. He kept looking down at her. He was getting uncomfortable because he knew she was right. He knew that he royally effed up and should have had his prescription pad there. So they sent me in for surgery, and not to mention, if I have to go all the way back down to Wilshire and all that stuff to get the prescription paper, like, Monday. That's just such, well, it would be a pain. Anyway, I go have the surgery. I'm recovering, and they keep calling her my wife. Your wife's waiting out there for you. And even when I'm groggy, I'm choking. I go, did I get married while I was under? Which one of you did I marry? And they were laughing. And so I came out. They brought Carrie in, whatever, and she said, well, your doctor miraculously found a prescription pad, but I'm a little bit concerned because he filled it out from his office in San Pedro. And she said, I've had prescriptions that were from an office in Encino, and they didn't want to fill them in Hollywood. And I'm like, really? Didn't think anything of it. So we go off looking for a 24-hour pharmacy, and Carrie, being the great friend that she is, she had, while I was in surgery, had taken off and went and bought me a meatball sandwich at an Italian restaurant because I had briefly mentioned one while we were talking. And something else I didn't know, it was her wedding anniversary yesterday, and she like blew off her wedding anniversary for a day so that she could be there with me. And what a great friend. So we finally find a 24-hour pharmacy. We show up, hand them my paper, and I hadn't even looked at the paper. Carrie had actually had the paper the whole time, and it was for 30 Vicodin. So I haven't taken one yet today, but I'm about to. So if I start talking very slow the rest of the day, or something feels a little off or a little weird, or I feel a little drugged out, that's why. We show up to fill a prescription. The lady behind the counter says, where's San Pedro? I go, pardon? She goes, where's San Pedro at? And I said, why are you asking me directions? I said, it's out by Long Beach. And she goes, okay. And gives me like a weird look, and I'm like, what? So she starts typing in the info. She goes, okay, I'll be ready for you in like a half an hour. And Carrie looks at me, she goes, I told you they were going to do that. She goes, they were thinking about not filling it because it was a San Pedro prescription. She goes, that's why she was asking you that. I don't know what the big deal is. So anyway, we got the Vicodin. She brought me home, and everything is good now. I just wanted to give you guys an update. Now I have to, supposedly I'm not supposed to do any heavy exercising. I'm supposed to keep this thing covered and wrapped when I'm in a shower. I'm supposed to not drive. I'm going to have to drive eventually, and I am going to have to exercise. I'm at least going to have to hike at some point. So if I have to cover this thing in a bag to go hiking, I'll do it. But I just got to make sure I don't get sweaty or anything, so I'll have to go hiking early in the morning. But just wanted to fill you all in. Your old pal Jordan the Lion wants to make sure that you guys know I'm okay. And I had a lot of messages when I came out wishing me well wishes, so thank you very much, guys. Daze with Jordan the Lion begins now. Nice cloudy day out here in Los Angeles. I wanted to get out here early because I have an idea. Well, today's going to be a sad one. I decided to wear a special pair of sunglasses for this one, and because I think this is going to be one of those that somebody's going to want a piece of. And what we're going to do today is Hollywood Forever Cemetery received a new resident, and we're going to get out there as early as we can right now, just as the gates are open, and we're going to go visit him. I think it's safe to say that house is coming down. Look at that. The whole middle of the roof is dipped down and broken in. Honestly, it's kind of making me tear up just to walk over to do this. I wouldn't even consider him to be like one of my biggest influences, but everything involved, and I mean, it's so heartbreaking. I know it's completely off topic, but yesterday in my live chat I mentioned to you guys, I said, you know, I wasn't worried about the surgery because it can always be worse. It could have, like, the situation could always be worse. And while we were in there and I was waiting to go under the knife, I found a situation that was worse. They were wheeling a guy through the main pre-op room, and the guy was telling the guy wheeling him in what happened. And the guy had a cast on his foot, and he said, this is all I heard of the conversation. I heard him say, well, see, I was dressed like the guy, or they thought I was dressed similar to the guy, but I wasn't the guy. So they broke my leg, and then they realized that it was the wrong guy. So now I got a lawyer and I'm suing, and yeah, this guy had been attacked on the street and they broke his leg because they thought he was somebody else. Well, it's been now less than a week
since the entire world was shocked and awed by the apparent suicide of Chris Cornell. And it was just this past Tuesday, he was cremated here at Hollywood Forever. And then on Friday, he was finally laid to rest with his wife, kids, and a whole host of celebrity friends that came to pay homage, as well as celebrity fans and fans from all around the world. And it's maybe one of the sadder stories you'll really encounter. Throughout all of the 90s and 2000s and even into this decade, he's been making music. He's been doing Temple of the Dog. He's been Soundgarden. He's been Audio Slave. And he's also had a extremely well-received solo album, Chris Cornell. And from all those 90s great bands that changed the world, he's the only one you never really heard too much about as far as scandal or drugs or abuse of any kind. We lost Lane Staley, and we lost Kurt Cobain, and we lost so many people that were a voice of that generation. Now it's like all we have left is Eddie Vedder and Billy Corgan, and we had Chris Cornell. And it's sad. He performed his last concert in Detroit, and in the last song they actually incorporated a song that wasn't originally put into the set list. It was a Led Zeppelin song about death. And basically the story is that Chris had taken Ativan earlier in the night, and even the sound guy now is coming out and saying if you listen to the recording from that night, his pitch was all over the place and he just wasn't himself. And so after the show, he got 2 Ativan, which were prescribed to him for anxiety, which is why I don't go on those kind of pills. He got 2 of them from his bodyguard. He went in his hotel room. He called his wife, and she noticed that his voice was different. She noticed that he was slurring his speech. And so he said he was just tired and he was going to go to bed. So she called his bodyguard, and the bodyguard rushed to the door and couldn't get in. He tried contacting the hotel to get them to let him in, but since he wasn't a registered guest in that room, they wouldn't let him in. So he kicked the door down, and it was dead bolted, or it had one of those bolts from the inside. He went to the bathroom and found that door the exact same way, kicked that door open, and found Chris Cornell had hanged himself. And now we're going to go over and we're going to see his final resting place. And right over here by Johnny Ramone lays Chris Cornell. Here's where they actually held the funeral yesterday. So it's just so sad. I mean, now the one thing that I did want to mention is that his wife released an extremely touching letter to Chris, in which she basically says, Christopher, I know this wasn't you. I know that this wasn't what you would have really normally done, and that it was the medication, and said she basically wanted him to know that her and his kids forgive him, and that they knew it just wasn't him. So now we'll see what happens with how Ativan and all these other prescriptions may be treated. But it's so sad. I mean, this is a guy that we didn't really see any suicidal tendencies or anything coming from. He was out doing a tour with Soundgarden, was supposed to play festivals for another couple of weeks, and just decided under the heat of an overabundance of Ativan in his system that he wanted to kill himself. And like I said the other day, it reminds me of the Ray Combs thing. Ray Combs was on these same type of prescriptions, and he had the same effects, this same like wanting to kill himself feeling. So here it is. We'll definitely sign this on the way out, and I wanted to put the sunglasses right here and pay a little homage to Chris. It's just sad always to see a great artist die. I really wanted to do this vlog today. It's been heavily requested in the last couple days, obviously, and one of the things that I always thought was just so special about Chris Cornell is that I have a handful of friends that you'll never hear them make an emotional comment about anything. They're always very closed off. You never really hear them talk about music or anything, but throughout my life, those handfuls of people are the same people that obsessed over Chris Cornell. His music touched them like no other music did, and I felt that anybody that was that special to close people to me definitely needed to. They definitely needed to be here and see as much as I could show them for this. This is where the funeral would have taken place. Believe me, I did have a lot of people requesting that I come to the actual funeral yesterday. In fact, my own mother wanted me to go to the funeral, but I just thought that was something I wasn't entitled to. I felt it would be I know there were other fans here, but to me it was just like, it was a little bit tacky to come and interrupt a moment with people that shared his life with them, and hope you guys will understand. I am very glad I got out here super early today though, because there's Dee Ramone. I am glad I got out here early because seems like every minute that I was out here, more and more people started showing up, and when I got here there was only 2. So if you want to come and have a peaceful moment with Chris Cornell, I would highly recommend you get here at 8:30 in the morning when it opens. And don't forget to stop by and say hi to the peacocks. Usually they're out roaming the grounds by now, but they still got them caged in. Well, I finally did it. I finally wrote him. I'm going to mail this out, and hopefully we get a response from the man himself. Well, I had a question about the dressing on my hand. I wanted to know whether or not I was supposed to remove it and clean that every day, because all the paperwork they gave me, it doesn't really say. It just says to keep this from getting wet, and then it also says keep it clean. So I didn't know what to do. So I called the my doctor's office. They said that nobody's in the office because it's a holiday weekend.
So they gave me an on-call doctor's number. I called the on-call doctor's number, and it sends me to a switchboard, and with kind of a rude guy answering the phone. And I start explaining. I said, well, yesterday I had surgery, and I just have a question on whether or not. And he goes, hold on. Wait, stop. Is this a post-op emergency? Are you having complications from post-op? And I go, well, what I'm trying to find out is whether or not I am supposed to remove the gauze. And he goes, hold on, stop. This is an emergency line for, these are only for post-op emergency questions. Do you have a post-op emergency question? And I said, dude, if my hand gets infected because I don't know whether or not to wash it, we're going to have a post-op emergency question. And he goes, okay, give me your phone number and your name. And then he connects me to a doctor who tells me, no, do not remove the dressing unless it gets wet, and leave it on, and that the orange stuff around your hand is just like a pre-op cleaning solution that you can choose to wipe off if you want, very gently so you don't get any of the gauze or anything wet. Otherwise, you can just leave it on. But it's really strange that I had to go through all that to get that answer, and the attitude of basically your question's not good enough for me to connect you with a doctor. I mean, I don't get it. This has been a really rough process. Not so much the surgery and all the physical stuff that goes in, it's just the dealing with people and getting straight answers is so difficult.
Now I'm happy. Look who just got home. Look who just came home. As soon as I lay down on the bed, he immediately hopped up right here and forced himself right onto my arm. You missed me! Hey, Jaw. Did you miss me? Thanks, bud. I missed you too. Carrie was nice enough to swing by, and she dropped me off this like tape that you can wrap your hand with, and I'm glad she did, because the stuff they put on there was already starting to kind of unfold and stuff from sleeping, so this has actually helped secure it. But now I feel like I look like I have the Cookie Monster hand giving a permanent middle finger.
I'm trying to relax.
And this is, I got my arm resting here, and I'm trying to relax like they told me to, and this guy keeps forcing himself under my neck. This guy. What are you up to? We lost another one today. Oh, God, man. One of my favorites. I just don't have words for this one.